Yo, welcome to the show where the energy's flown. It's your boy dropping heat. This is the Ozone. Step into the arena where legends are made. From the courts to the fields, watch the highlights played. Football, hoops, baseball, it's all fair game. If it's sports, we bring the fire, put respect on the name. Stats and debates, we break it all down. From the rookies to the goats who wear the crown. No halftime, all grind, we're setting the tone. It's prime time, baby, you're in the Ozone. Yo, it's passion, precision, the plays we dissect. From the underdogs, grinding to the Hall of Fame vets. This is more than a podcast, it's a sports throne. Let's kick it off right, welcome to the Ozone.
You have entered the Ozone with Omar and Dave.
Let's go, baby. We are here, and you guys have officially entered the Ozone. It looked a little slow. It looked a little down. It looked like we were on the ropes. We're bobbing and weaving. We don't know. Are they coming out with the knockout blow? But you know what? We didn't hear a bell. And the big cat comes through. And we're down. But we're not out. As the Knicks go into Indiana and do what they have done throughout this whole postseason. And that is win games on the road by being down 20 points. If the Knicks are down 20 on the road, bet the house on the Knicks. The Knicks have made it a series now. It's 2-1 Indy. You can't be satisfied. We got to get game 4 tonight. We're going to talk about it all. We're going to talk about some people's happiness, whether they're having buyer's remorse or signing remorse. We're going to talk about the team in the Bronx that looks like they might be proving me wrong. Maybe they might have that championship will. But we can't get into all this without super producer Dave, the best co-host in the business, brother. It's a new week. How we feeling?
Feeling good. Just a side note, don't fly American Airline. That's just gonna cover a lot of stuff. If you really wanted to hear about it, write to me. But honestly, bro, the Knicks had me stressed. I was in New York, and I was out there for the Garden. As you saw, there was a video that I was chilling in front of the Garden that caught me on MSG Network. Or was it not MSG? It was the other network that was covering the game.
TNT.
Yeah, but brother, I was there for the crowd, and the crowd wasn't into it. It was cold, it was wet, it was rainy, and then on top of that, the Knicks lost. So the crowd wasn't into it, and I was getting out of there before people started acting stupid. So
yeah,
I'm
let's
happy.
talk about it. Let's get into it.
Let's get into
all the spectrums of moods the Knicks have had us feeling here on This Week in Knicks.
This week in Knicks.
All right, y'all. This Week in Knicks playoff edition. As you touched on, brother, you were there. You were on site. You made a cameo on TNT. Like Dave made a cameo on TNT. I'm watching it, and they do this pan angle of Madison Square Garden. I'm like, oh snap, that's Dave right there. Like, look at Dave. Dave, you on max, baby. You on max. Look at Dave, lonely. Working, that'll show you that the Ozone is always on the grind. If we're in New York, we will be on location. Brother, but you touched on it. One, they didn't have a viewing party outside the Garden
No.
for game 1. And I don't know if it's a weather thing, or I don't know if maybe some people, and we'll get into the game, but I just want to get into the outside stuff. Obviously when the Knicks sealed the Celtics' fate, obviously you had the big party in 7th Avenue, and then you had the kid on top of the billboard. Now apparently, rumors going around is that kid ruined it. That kid ruined the outside viewing party, is what's being told in the Knicks Twitterverse, because as you touched on, brother, there was no viewing party outside Madison Square Garden for game 1. Now, I know weather's been a little tricky in New York those days, and with the last weekend or so. But then game 2, they had the viewing party in Radio City.
They actually had it for game one too.
Oh, so game one was Radio City as well. Okay.
Hmm.
And then I know also then game two was Central Park. So maybe game one was Radio City, game two was Central Park then. And then obviously game three, which was on well, I'm confused as what we're recording. Sunday night, was in Madison Square Garden. So obviously in the building. Brother, you were there. You were on site game one. Obviously, game one, to those that are watching, know what happened in game one. It was a total train wreck. I went to work the following day, and there was not a single excuse I could come up with, but the Knicks choked. The Knicks were up 17, I believe, with what, 6 minutes to go. They were up by 8 with over 30 seconds to go or something similar to that. And I just remember telling my wife, make your free throws and the game is fine. Like I wasn't even panicking. Like, yeah, the lead was dwindling, but it's like in that situation where actually time is your ally, in that situation where the Knicks were up 8, 30 seconds, just make your free throws. The game is over. The game is over, but obviously the Knicks didn't do that. The Knicks had 3 separate occasions where they both split 1 out of 2 free throws. And you leave that door open. And as much as I hate Tyrese Halliburton, I don't even hate Tyrese Halliburton. I hate Trae Young. I don't hate Tyrese Halliburton. I hate his antics. I think his antics is so what's the opposite of organic, brother? Like
It's
manufactured,
force.
right?
It's
Like,
force. Yeah,
yeah,
man.
it's
Yeah.
forced. Like it's like I hate someone that has to plan a celebration. And now I know celebrations are planned. I know that, but it's like I hated that. When it looks planned. You know what I mean? When guys do it, it's usually like it just comes organic. That you think like whether it wasn't or whether it wasn't. Like you think like, oh, he just came up with it in the moment. But like you knew homeboy was just dying to do the choke thing, and then you do it when your foot was on the line and tie the game. And even then, when I saw that, I said, "Oh, we're still gonna win this game because this is gonna be the ultimate troll job on this guy." The fact that he did the Reggie Miller choking, whatever you want to pay homage to that. Excuse me. But then it wasn't even to win the game; it was going to overtime. And even then, brother, overtime, the Knicks didn't look like they were out of it. Like that moment took them out because the Knicks at one point had a 4-point lead. Jalen Brunson goes for the layup. Miles Turner with the block, which wasn't a goaltend. And I'm going to pin it there because there was something that happened in game 3 that I never saw in my 36 years of watching basketball. I'm like, wow, they did that, but they couldn't do that for the goaltending call. Basically, the goaltend doesn't get called. I believe Nimhart makes it 3, makes it a 1-possession game. I think that was the swing and when the Knicks lost game 1. And that was a tough one, brother. That was a tough one. But there was no excuses made. The Knicks literally just arguably the biggest choke job in playoff history for game 1.
And I was a slate during this time, just because it was cold and rainy. I didn't want to stay outside the garden and anything like that, and just watch the game. So I ended up like leaving a little bit early just because of the lead. It was like 4 minutes left. I'm like, you know what? They got this in the bag. What could possibly go wrong in my head? And you know what? The Knicks found a way to do it. And this is something that has been concerning for me many times throughout this season with the Knicks. There's just this thing, this lack of effort. They're letting their foot off the gas where you let them come back into it. And that game should have been sealed and done. You know, I I've never seen a crowd so dead. I was leaving. I literally was walking to the train as after the game wraps and everything. So I'm heading to the east side, and I literally hear some guy crying on the phone, literally tears falling down his face. And he's like, "We don't deserve this," in full Knicks gear. So I know he's talking about the Knicks. And he's just like, "What did we do to deserve this?" And it's just like, this is something we've seen from the Knicks all season, where they're just very comfortable with letting
Brother,
teams come back into it.
how old was this fan?
This fan had to be in his 30s because I saw the grayest in his scruff.
Okay. Oh, I only asked because, well, obviously I didn't have a meltdown like that. But as you know, you've mentioned it, and I mentioned it too. Like my niece is a Knicks fan, and I like to say it's partly because of me. I've like instilled that in her, right? And I instantly, obviously she had school, so school didn't, so she couldn't see the whole game. But once she, I told my wife, I said, once she sees this is gonna be her first taste of really what it's like of being a Knicks fan. And I wish I could say I've seen it all, but I haven't seen it all because, the Knicks just find new ways to break your heart. And I feel for that fan. That's why I ask, how old is he? Because you got a lot of these Knicks fans that are 20s that are really, you never seen heartbreak. You just seen bad basketball. But if you are in your 30s, you are, I would say like your 30s will probably be the youngest. You've seen heartbreak. You know what I mean? Like you've seen that. You've witnessed heartbreak. Like heartbreak and then watching bad basketball is two different things. Because heartbreak, that comes with the expectations of winning, the
Right.
expectations of accomplishing something, and then bam, it gets taken under you. But yeah, man, I can only imagine, homeboy. I can only
So
imagine.
yeah. So yeah, it was just the fading, and you could see it, and it sucked. Honestly, in all seriousness, it just sucked because at the end of the day, like this is one of those things that I brought it up many times. Like these are the adjustments that Tibbs has to yo, take a time out, get the teams that like. There are so many things that are in question as we follow into the other games that just makes me think, yo, Tibbs, what are you doing? And I texted the group yesterday. Tibbs is getting fired. If they lose this series, he's getting fired, and I'm staying by that. Yeah, he got us this far, but then also you could have gotten farther had you made better coaching decisions. And had he been on any other team, we would have been questioning like, why isn't he fired already? So that's something to visit when we get into the off season and how the Knicks shape up after this. But brother, let's cover game two.
Yeah, but before we move on to game two, like, because this is gonna help the game two conversation is like as you touched on is the adjustments that Tibbs doesn't make. You look at one of the strong things that Indiana got going for themselves is the depth, and we talked about it, brother. We here on the Ozone talked about Tibbs having to trust a little bit more of his guys, whether that be, DeLon Wright, whether that be Landry Shamet, whether that be those kind of Precious Achuas. Hey, give them 8 or 9 minutes. Like we're not telling them to give them 20. Give them 8 or 9 minutes because those minutes can give our starters a little bit of a blow. I'm gonna just preface this real fast, and this is just Indiana's bench. Obi Toppin, 20 minutes. Thomas Bryant, 13 minutes. TJ McConnell, 14 minutes. Benedict Mathurin, 21 minutes. Ben Shepherd played 7. That was game one. Those little bit of minutes, that takes away from the starters. It makes them refresh. Look at the Knicks. The Knicks basically played Mitchell Robinson, 21 minutes. Campaign 10. Deuce, 25. You know what I mean? So then let's go on to game two. As you saw, the Knicks, obviously, Thibodeau in his old ways goes and playing the starters a bunch of minutes, right? Let's go to game two. And game two was interesting game. It was tight. It was very tight. Knicks outscored Indiana by 2 points in the first quarter, 26-24. They then outscored Indiana by 1 point in the second quarter, 26-25. Now, Indiana makes up that difference where they outscore the Knicks by 3, 32-29. So you go in tied into the fourth quarter. And this is where I thought the Knicks looked a little fatigued. I thought the Knicks looked a little fatigued. You look at the minutes. Obviously, Josh Hart didn't play that much because Josh Hart, I believe, was in foul trouble, if I'm not mistaken. No, he wasn't in personal fouls, but Josh Hart didn't play. That was the game also where Cat didn't even touch 30 minutes. And I guess that was Tibbs' way in making an adjustment where he played Mitchell Robinson a little bit more. But look at the bench. Mitchell Robinson, 29. Deuce McBride, 25. Campaign 9. So now
Yeah.
you leave it Mikal 45 minutes, OG at 36, Brunson at 39. And then, as I said, I'm going to read the bench minutes for the Pacers. Obi Toppin 19, Thomas Bryant 4, Tony Bradley 8, Rick Carlisle made an adjustment. That's called adjustment in the season. He saw Mitchell Robinson was abusing Thomas Bryant. He's basically abused Miles Turner. He's abused anyone on the bounce. So what does he do? He throws in Tony Bradley. Guys, Tony Bradley is the Pacers' third center on their depth chart. Okay? This guy, like, third center. In the regular season, he only played 14 games. In the regular season, 8 minutes. 8 minutes in average. So that's what we expect from Tom Thibodeau. That's what we want to see from Tom Thibodeau. You know what? Carlisle identified Mitchell Robinson's an issue for us. He's killing us on the rebounds. We have to get a little bit more physical. I'm going to take out Thomas Bryant, who Thomas Bryant is just a center that shoots threes. He doesn't rebound much. He's not great defensively. So I'm going to get a more brute center. I'm gonna bring in a center that okay, he may not gonna give me the production on the offense, but you know what? He's a big body there that can at least not maybe he's not gonna out physical Mitch, but he can wear down Mitch just because he's a physical kind of player. So that's an adjustment he makes. TJ McConnell 14 minutes, Benedict Mathurin 11, Ben Shepherd 13. So obviously Rick Carlisle plays his bench, and I think that factored in. Obviously Pascal Siakam had a monster game with 39 points. We didn't really get much from Josh Hart in that game. Quietly, Mikal Bridges has been having a good series. I just don't think it looks as impactful as it did in the Boston series. But that was a tough one, man. That was a real tough one. The Knicks had they did have an opportunity to tie the game. I did not like the shot selection from Brunson when he just heaved the three. He had a lot more time to draw up a play, and that game was really more upsetting to watch for me than game one. Game one was more of a stun thing, brother. Game two was like, what are we doing? We played with no energy that game.
With the Brunson shot, just before I go into something else, but with the Brunson shot, it was just more so like, were you trying to create a foul in that situation? Like, I never understood why he chucked it up so early. But in this game, I want to put in some context as well, because this also paints a picture of why the Knicks should have won. If you look at the overall team stats for both teams, we out rebounded them. We blocked more than them. We had the same amount of steals. We had more turnovers. I guess, and that's probably where everything went in their favor. They had more points than us in the paint, and they fouled more than us. I don't understand how you lose that game, but then it's just really bad decision making and bad questions of why is Cat on the bench with 5 minutes left in that game. That is very questionable. And I get it. You want to have Mitch out there, but then have Cat out there at the same time. And then Brunson. Brunson's making a lot of like bad decisions with his fouls. Don't get me wrong. Some of that is
Yeah.
going against, some of that is questionable at the end of the day. But some of them are just like, yo, Brunson, what are you doing? What are you doing? Because you're
Yeah.
putting yourself in a position where, yeah, we won game 3 and we'll cover that in a bit. But at the end of the day, we won with you having to be on the bench because of the foul trouble. And it's something to be questioned. Like, I don't want you to foul out. I want you to be there because you are Mr. Clutch. You're the guy. You really won. What was it, the award again? Clutch Player of
Clutch
the Year?
award. Clutch player of the year, yeah.
So it's just like, what? This is when we need you. And it's just
Yeah.
bad decision making on Brunson's end. And don't get me wrong, he'll get it together. But these are the things that just like, had we this one slipped out of our hands, then we also can point to that again. Um, I don't know, man. Like the Knicks were very at home. There's something about being at home too. I just don't get it. And my thing is, in this, you need to win these home games.
They haven't been. They just haven't been a good home team this year in the playoffs. Last
Three
year
and five.
they were a great team, and I believe before they lost, outside of Game 5 against Philly, and then obviously the Game 7 against Indiana. Those were their only two losses at home in last year's playoffs. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know if the Knicks. I don't know if they try to do too much at home. The Garden crowd is rocking, and maybe they just feel more relaxed at home. I don't know what it is. I wish I could put my finger on it. But I agree with everything you said about Brunson. I think when it comes to Jalen Brunson, he's playing more with his hands, not his feet. Obviously, we know that Jalen Brunson is not Tony Allen on the defense. We know that. I know because he's displayed this. He's not a person that lets the outside noise affect him. So I know it's not him trying to overplay because now this media is now making it seem like he's Luka Doncic on the defense, which that I don't agree with. I'm not gonna say Brunson's all defense, but dang, he is not Luka Doncic on the
And
defensive side of
quick,
the
quick,
ball.
quick pin on that. How come Halliburton isn't called the same way? Because he's just as much as a liability as a Luca.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
I
exactly.
digress.
I think the thing that helps Halliburton is that on with all right, so Brunson is getting really picked out more because Cat is also a sense of a liability on the defensive end. Where Halliburton's situation, he's disguised. The rest of the lineup plays good to decent defense. I would say the weakest defender in their lineup outside of Halliburton will probably be Miles Turner. But Miles Turner can still rim protect. Siakam, good defender. Nembhard, good defender. Nesmith, good defender. You know what I mean? And even when the guys coming off the bench, T.J. McConnell, good defender. Shepard, not bad. Like Obi Toppin, not a good defender. We all knew that. We he's trying to be the fake tough guy. I'm gonna get into that in Game 3. I'm gonna get into that when we really touch on Game 3. But I think that's what it was, bro. But Game 2 was tough. It was tough. It was really tough to watch because, like you said, we should have won. And this series, and I'm not trying to take anything away from the Indiana Pacers. The Indiana Pacers are proving me wrong in that sense where I said they can't beat a healthy team. Right now, we are healthy. There's no excuses. They're playing well. They're playing well. They're up. They won the first 2 games. But this series could easily be 3-0 Knicks. Easily be 3-0 Knicks. And I don't want to sound like I don't want to have that conversation because that's what I didn't like about how Celtics fans were treating our series against them. Where it's like, oh, you guys are trash. Really, you should be. So I'm trying to I want to say that, but I don't want to take away from the Pacers because at the end of the day, it's like we said, brother. No one gave us credit for taking advantage of Boston's mishaps. We got to give Indiana credit for our mishaps, missing free throws. I think we're turnovering the ball a little bit too much.
And
I think
bad
Indiana's
coaching. Carlisle is one of
Indiana.
top 10 coaches in the playoffs. I
Yeah.
think with winning
And
percentage.
Carlisle's
So
a
yeah,
good coach. Carlisle's a champ. He's a championship winning coach. He's won a title with Dallas. He's been to several conference finals, several NBA finals. He is a top tier coach. And right now, the first 2 games he's out coached Thibodeau. But let's get into Game 3
yes.
because as much as we're telling Thibs to get on the unemployment line or whatever it is, he made the right adjustments in Game 3. And finally, and then at first those adjustments wasn't looking that great. It wasn't looking that great. But he plays the bench a little bit more. He trusts in his guys. Let's talk bench minutes really quickly. Deuce McBride played 15. I thought Deuce could have played a little bit more. Deuce had a very good game. He was a +7. He was 9 of 9 and he played very good defense. Let's start before we get into the bench. We just got to talk about the glaring change he made. He starts Mitchell Robinson. Now I know a lot of people panicked about that. A lot of people panicked, like, what are you doing? Like this is not the time to experiment. I didn't think that, but now I feel even better about the situation because the news of what Josh Hart said after the game, where this was even discussed in the Boston series. We just didn't know that. You know what I'm saying? So this was discussed. So I wouldn't say this is something like throwing it against the wall, or whatever. So they make that change. So let's get back to now how Thibs utilizes bench. Miles McBride dues 15 minutes. Josh Hart plays 34. So Josh Hart's going to get starter minutes. You know what I mean? He's just coming off the bench. That's why I didn't think it was such a big deal. It's kind of like how when J.R. Smith was with the Knicks. J.R. Smith didn't start for us, but J.R. Smith basically plays starters minutes, and J.R. Smith's on the floor when the game's closing. DeLon Wright, 13 minutes.
Your guy.
Landry Shamet, yes, 11 minutes. Because you know why, brother? DeLon Wright's going to play defense. Okay, DeLon Wright's not going to come and drop 15 off the bench like a Deuce could. But he's going to play defense. Cam Payne was nothing. Cam Payne was literally dribbling air out the ball, turnovering the ball, doesn't play good defense, does
Chucking.
fouls, and he's chucking. He has no size. Why play him? At least DeLon Wright, bigger guard, defensive. He can give Indiana a little bit more fits. He can give that. He can make Halliburton work a little bit more. He can be a player that you can switch on screens. I just didn't get why Thibs wasn't playing him. And we've seen it. You know what I mean? Yes, points-wise, he got 2 points, but he was a +2 on the court. Like his minutes, you can tell like he impacted, and you saw it. Rick Carlisle mentioned it in the post show. They made it tough because they had their best defensive players on the floor. And let's not act like this game was, all Knicks. Indiana did go up 20 in the second quarter. But I'll say this. And I'm surprised Reggie Miller was saying this, and I'm gonna get to you really quick, bro.
No, no,
Before
no,
you
no.
forget your point, I don't want you to forget your point. The Knicks making it a 13-point deficit at the half is something a lot of people are not talking about. That's what saved that game. That's what saved the series. You're down 20 at the half. That's a tough road to climb. But the fact that the Knicks made it 13, and you knew it was impactful because the Knick hater himself, the Indiana Pacer great Reggie Miller, kept emphasizing that. I did not like how the Pacers closed out the first half. He kept saying it. He said it so much that he sounded like Wolf Frazier when he's calling the Knicks, where you know there's no like the bias. You know what I mean? Like you can already tell, like bro, you going for the Pacers. You seem more upset than more just highlighting that the Knicks brought it to 13. You kept yourself in the game. The third quarter, the Knicks, I know sometimes it would go up to 15, 16, but the Knicks just kept it 13, 12, 11, when then they were able to, at one point, I believe, they ended the third quarter just down 8. The Knicks, no, it was down 10 because the Knicks came in at the half down 13, they outscored them by 3, and then you get the fourth quarter, brother.
Yeah.
The Knicks outscored Indiana by 16 points, and it was led by the big bodega, Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah, and that going into the half, that Reggie Miller calls it out, and you can see the Knicks were just playing a little bit different in those closing minutes of the second quarter, and you saw a little bit more adjustments coming into the third. You see DeLon Wright out there, you see Landry Shamet, you're seeing pivotal and important minutes, and not only are guys getting rest, but the guys that are on the court, yeah, like because I remember during the commentating, they were like, "Oh well, you got all these guys out here who's going to create offense," and guess what? That was Deuce McBride. Deuce McBride started creating offense, and then you have the guys playing defense, and you just stop the Pacers from going on a run that they could have. Take advantage. If Halliburton's on the bench, I don't really trust their scorers outside of that. Yeah, Pascal Siakam has had a great game too, and don't get me wrong, the guy can shoot, but he's not your main guy. He's not your main focus. So you just take advantage of what you can, and you see the adjustments being made, and then they go on that run. Cat, you stepped it up. Sometimes I forget you. I feel like you forget you're 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
And there's something about when you're going to the basket, just finish. If you're gonna get contacted, if you're gonna get a foul called on you, great. But don't look for the foul. Just finish.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think that's the problem sometimes with him and Brunson, that they look for the contact. I thought those guys brought energy, brother. I thought DeLon Wright brought energy. Landry Shamet hit a big 3 in the first half, and then you look at when he picked up the off when he got the when he was able to draw Obi Toppin and to get the offensive foul, the emotion that he displayed. And then I said I want to come at Obi Toppin. Obi Toppin, you're not a tough guy. You've never shown that. You're not that. And I don't know if you saw it, brother, because I know you had some travel things, so I know how you were viewing it was very different. Um, so after that play, the Knicks are on their side of the court. Landry Shamet is sitting by, he's at the 3-point line, but right in front of the Indiana bench. They took Obi Toppin out of that. And Obi Toppin kind of like says something like, I don't know, obviously it's a family show, but he says some things, if you read his lips, you can tell, he says something crazy.
And I
And
think
like
it's more
Landry
so
Shamet,
like it's
yeah,
just hate
but
because of the Knicks situation. You were just shipped out, and we didn't
yeah.
want you no more. And
And he was basically traded for a bag of chips. I'm gonna be honest, and that's a little upsetting to me. I felt like we could have gotten something a little bit more for Obi, but yeah, I think obviously it's a combination of that. Yeah, it's definitely like and that's I don't fault him for that. Or a lot of players want to do that, get at their old team, but I just felt like like bro, like what you mad about? You know what I mean? Because he made you look stupid, he made you draw the offensive foul, whatever. But I just thought those guys brought energy. And as you touched on, where was the offense coming from? Because you're right, there was that point. There was a line. I think it was the lineup was what
Josh
was it?
Hart,
Deuce. It was Deuce, Josh Hart, DeLon Wright, Landry Shamet, and Mitch. I believe, right?
yeah,
I think it was. So right at one point you're looking at like where's the offense coming from, and this is why I was so upset at Deuce in the Detroit series, because we know Deuce is capable of doing this. Deuce McBride can easily, and we a lot of Knicks fans compare him to that, where he can have that impact that homeboy from the Celtics has, the sixth man of the year. Why am I drawing a blank on
Peyton
his
Pritchard.
name?
Peyton Pritchard.
Peyton Pritchard. Like, Peyton Pritchard could go off. Peyton Pritchard can go off, especially then when you're starting him, he goes off. Deuce McBride has proven that in games where we've missed Jalen Brunson last year where he had to start. Deuce McBride is more than capable of dropping buckets. He can create his for his own self. But what makes it work though too is that he was on the floor with DeLon Wright, and we've seen a little bit of that in the regular season. Deuce doesn't really play well with Campaign because Campaign's got the ball.
And he's
Deuce
erratic.
does well when he's got the ball in his hands, right? Where Dylan Wright is more of a play setter. So if Deuce don't got the ball in his hand, Deuce is gonna come off screens. Deuce is gonna, and that's how Deuce gets into his rhythm. So hopefully this is the rotation that Thibs uses. Obviously, outside of the Brunson foul trouble, and I just hope, like we touched on, Brunson gets that together. The guys looked a little bit more fresh because they were giving them extra minutes to take a blow and relax. Because you played Shamit, you played Wright, you played those guys at least 10 minutes or so to give those guys a rest.
And here's the thing, like, I know we covered it, right? We've covered it extensively on this show, covering the Knicks during the season, that, when it comes to the playoff time, you shorten that, at least Tibbs does. He shortens that, like, who he wants to play.
Right, rotations are shorter, right.
Right, but as you, like, the thing is that during this playoff run, we've seen that the Knicks had to make adjustments that maybe could make it a little bit easier for us. And we saw it a lot in the Boston series, and now we're seeing it in the Pacers, where it's just like, yo, these guys, they can play. And I hate the narrative, like, oh, he has no playoff minutes. So, he forgot how to play? Like, these guys
Right.
are fresh,
Right.
they're
They're
young, at least,
professionals.
they're professionals.
They're
DeLon Wright, at least, is
professionals.
young. So, give them opportunities, and you can see what the adjustments made. Go figure, give these guys minutes, and they may actually do something. What's the worst that can happen? I just I don't want to be put in a position where we are questioning once again, what is the coach doing? You know,
Yeah.
players aside, because at the end of the day, yes, as much as we can blame coaching, because Tibbs at the end of the day, I still feel is the fault for a lot of stuff. You also got to blame the players. At the end of the day, you guys are the ones on the court, and a lot of bad is being made and putting yourselves in a bad position. That's how they came back in game one. So I just
Yeah.
hope that we don't have to see that again. But this is what we've come to expect sometimes.
Yeah, and I know Neesmith, he rolled his ankle, so that kind of helped a little bit. Sometimes you need some little. He's been balling this year. And I'll say this. I didn't watch much Pacers. I'm going off, and I'm sure a lot of Knicks fans have gone off last year. And I will say this: Nimhart and Neesmith have improved their shooting insanely. You know what I mean? Compared to last year, they're no longer guys that you can say, okay, leave open. Um, so I'll give them credit for that. But the Knicks' resilience, man, is just this team just never gives up, and this is why I laugh because at the half you hear Charles Barkley go, "Oh, this game's over," and it's like and I know we beat a dead horse with this. It's like, have you not seen these teams? Like, have you not seen that these teams come back? You know what I mean? Like, especially when the Knicks show the Knicks have that character, that grit character, where you've seen it. So how can you go and just all right, eliminate this team? This team is done. No, this Knicks team has grit. Karl Anthony Towns, for all the people that wanted him traded after game two, is all having apology notes for him after his game three performance. But brother, let's talk game four. Game four is tonight. The Knicks now have an opportunity to tie this series. Head back to Madison Square Garden 2-2. What adjustments or what is the game plan do you think the Knicks need to make in order to take another game in Indiana?
So something to note about Game 3 that we didn't cover too much is that Knicks had a
Okay.
lead starting that game,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. It was close. Honestly, Indiana really just they kind of went away in the second quarter.
right, but
Everything
it
else that you
started
touched on
well.
was even. Yeah, it
It
started. Yeah,
started
the
it
Knicks were all right. Yeah,
it
I
started
think the
well.
Knicks
So
only down two
I'm
by
okay
the
with
end
the
of the first
lineup.
quarter.
I'm okay with the lineup. So you want to start Mitch? Go ahead, because once again, like you covered, Josh Hart is going to get started minutes.
Yeah,
So I'm okay with
yeah.
that lineup.
I like the
That's what I
double
want to
big
see.
because it. Yeah, I like the double big because it does give Indiana like how do we guard Cat? You know what I mean? Because you can't put Miles Turner on him. Because then now you can have Cat at the 3-point line, and now you pull Miles Turner away. Bigs don't want to be guarded that far from the basket. Um,
And I feel like Siakam covers Cat a lot better than Miles does, but then Miles can't cover Mitch.
correct, correct. So, that position is I what I want to see is the Knicks just play 48 minutes of good basketball. Game one they played 46. You know what I mean? Game two, game two they look tired and they just but this game as well, that second quarter, you can't have a second quarter how you had in game three. Now they made up for it because they had a monstrous fourth quarter. But you can't do that. You don't want to do that. I need them to play 48 minutes. As you touched on, brother, this series has been very close. Outside of the Knicks' brief 17-point lead in the first in game one, and then Indiana's 20-point lead in game three, this has been neck and neck. I believe the point differential throughout the series, I believe, is 11 points or something like that. 11 to 14 points. Something within that range. This has been a close series. This is not a series where this is why when we were down 0-2, I was not super down because I just know I'm like, this is not a team that's head and shoulders better than us. I don't even think they are better than us. They're there. I think we're better. If we
Hmm.
play better, we win. So I never felt that way. Now, obviously, does your mind start to shift? Does it start to pivot when you're down 20 in game three, down 2-0? Of course, that's just we're human. But I need the Knicks to play 48 minutes. I need Jalen Brunson not to be in foul trouble. And I think, with them winning game three, as you said, it's context in every series. If we would have won game one, lost game two, and then lost game three, and we're down 2-1 as we are now, we would be like, what are we gonna do? But the fact that we won game three, now we're optimistic that we're down 2-1 going into game four. And I think that's real life. I think Indiana, although they did win the first two games in MSG, it's got to be a little thing to go, wait a minute. We can't drop both these games at home and now give the Knicks. Now the Knicks got confidence heading back to the crib. So expect Indiana to play with that fire. You got to match that fire. If not, up it up a notch more.
Yeah,
So that's
I
what I
agree.
want to see.
I agree, and it's something to
So
touch on. There's something to touch on the Pacers, and at the end of the day, you said a comment where we feel like they're not as good as us. I feel like we're better than the Pacers, but the Pacers' strength is what is keeping them and what won them two games. They move fast.
yeah,
They chuck
yeah.
the three,
And
and they
that's
take
and that's
advantage.
right. And that's why in any sport, basketball of all sports, it's all on matchups. And I tell people this all the time. It's all based on matchups. It's not like, oh well, we beat this team, so of course we can beat that team. No, it's the matchups, the style of play. That is what, in any sport, baseball, football, basketball is so reliant on the matchups. And you're right. Indiana's strength is the Knicks' biggest weakness, is the
And
depth and the speed of the game.
and then the adjustments of just the
You know,
perimeter defense. We know they're gonna chuck the three. So why are you guys like pulling off? Like I get it. Like there are a lot of times when these
yeah,
open threes are shot for the
it's too much
Pacers where
drop
I'm just like,
coverage. Yeah,
and I'm just
too
like,
much
what are
drop
you doing?
coverage.
What are
Yeah,
you
it's
doing? Go
too.
back to the guy who's gonna shoot if you leave him
Yeah,
alone.
yeah, too much drop coverage. For people that don't know, is drop coverage is when when they're playing defense and they set a screen, the player that they set the screen on basically drops to go under the second player, and basically you're giving the guy with the ball space to shoot. Um, the Knicks are playing too much drop coverage, and the thing is, they're exploiting Brunson and Cat because when Cat plays the drop, he doesn't have enough. He doesn't have the speed to come back. And when he does too much, then that's when they get by him, and that's where he ends up fouling people. I need Cat to play a little with his IQ. I think Cat still makes a lot of dumb fouls. We cannot afford to have him and Brunson in foul trouble as we did yesterday. Yesterday was scary. We played with fire, but we won. But game four, I need to see a full 48 from the Knicks, and I expect us to win. I do. I expect us to win game four and head to the Garden 2-2.
And I'm on the same page. I do expect us to win, but I do want to see these adjustments being made. There are a lot of things of like I'm okay when it comes to the Pacers. I'm okay with them getting 2 pointers. I am. It's when you leave them open for threes and give them that confidence that they can shoot it. So this is that's a main adjustment for me that I want to see. But I feel like we can win this game. Just make better decisions as far as Cat and Brunson and Tibbs. Keep the rotate these guys in, get these guys in some minutes because you can see they gave us helpful minutes. If I don't see anything from DeLon Wright in game four, then I'm gonna question what was that all for. Um that's where I'm at. So I'm hopeful that we come back to the Garden and we already are tied. So let's see what happens, bro.
Yeah, let's see that, man. Go Knicks, and yeah, go Knicks, man. Let's do it. We can win it in Indy. We won two in Detroit. We won two in Boston. There's no reason why we can't win two in Indiana.
Right.
All right, y'all. So let's pivot, brother. Let's pivot because this team right here, them boys from the Bronx, they're balling right now, and they deserve their flowers. So let's get into it here on the Pinstripes Report.
The Pinstripe Report.
All right, y'all. The Pinstripes Report. This is where we cover the Yankees, and brother, I last week I said this is the Yankees got a week to get fat. They had a 3-game set against Texas, followed by a 3-game set with the Colorado Rockies. Now we both said 2 out of 3 Texas, and we wanted to see a sweep with the Rockies. So that would give the Yankees what was a 5-1 record for the week. Now we got a 5-1 record for the week, but obviously we got it different. We didn't get the sweep with Colorado. We won 2 out of 3. We almost damn near lost 2 out of 3 to the Rockies if you really looked at how that series played out. But they go and sweep Texas. Right now, this Yankee team right now, brother, is straight up balling. You look at the pitching, you look at what they're getting from the pitching side, and then you look at the timely hitting from obviously Aaron Judge, Paul Goldschmidt having a good season. Now Cody Bellinger is starting to heat up. Cody Bellinger's heating up. You see in Jasson Dominguez, he's starting to step into his own. Obviously, my man Reggie Jackson, aka Trent Grisham, has kind of regressed a little bit, but still putting good quality at bats, playing good defense. The one that's kind of pissing me off right now is Austin Wells and Anthony Volpe. Those guys are kind of pissing me off right now. But all in all, the Yankees are playing very good baseball, and I like it right now. They have a 6-game lead in the standings. They're 32. I believe they're 32 and 20 with a 6-game lead in the American League East. And I'm not hating right now where the Yankees stand.
Yeah. And there's just things that we're seeing from people that we need to step up. And like Will Warren is one of those guys that we were preaching about coming into the season that we would want to see more of. And he's showing that, like, hey, he can hang around with those guys. Max Fried is giving us like Cy Young performance this year. And I did there's they did an interview with him and he said he's not thinking about it. But I mean, come on, the way he's pitching, I wouldn't be surprised if he's in the running by the end of the season. Um,
Oh,
the Yankees are.
I think for a fact, brother, he's definitely right now um early Cy Young candidate right now. I would think so.
Right. And then Aaron Judge is continuing to prove why he's the best player in baseball right now, well-rounded and giving us exactly what we want to see from our captain. The revenge tour's still on effect, and I think he's just the Yankees are in a good position. The bullpen was something that I mentioned last week that I wanted to see improvement from, and I got that, bro. I got the bullpen showing what exactly we felt like was a real good strength of ours.
Yeah. Yeah, right now Devin Williams seems comfortable in this setup role in the eighth. And then Luke Weaver's got that dog in him, man. Luke Weaver got that dog in him. Let's just talk about the Yankees pitching so far. The Yankees rotation has caught up. They had a strong May. They had the lowest ERA in MLB with a 2.40 ERA. Their overall ERA for May, is a result of why they've now their team ERA is 3.42. So it's brought it down because it had such a great May. You touched on it with Will Warren. Will Warren is starting to find his own. And what we're getting for Carlos Rodon, man. Carlos Rodon has been a guy where I know I've been out publicly voicing my dislike for Carlos Rodon. And I remember when the beard the beard rule came back, they allowed the Yankees to get beards, and I remember in Yankee Twitterverse people were saying, okay, Rodon's gonna cook. Rodon gets to grow his beard, he's gonna cook. And Rodon has been there. I believe it's a contract year. I believe he can opt out after this year. I think he has a player option. But right now he's balling right now. And sometimes, and I know you mentioned this a couple weeks ago, brother, was, man, imagine if we just had Garrett Cole. Imagine if we had Garrett Cole to go along with the way Max Fried is pitching, and Max Fried just looks so. How about Max Fried's pickoff? He's looking very Andy Pettit like. He is just picking off guys at first. No one is safe to run the bases on Max Fried, but Carlos Rodon has played well. Um, shout out to the
If
Yankees. They're doing. Yeah, go ahead.
if Garrett Cole was here, our record at this moment of recording is 32-20. And
Yeah.
if I wouldn't be surprised if we'd be 37-15 if we had Garrett
Well,
Cole.
yeah, yeah, and you think about the games we touched on. What was it last week with Devin Williams? How the bullpen blew 5 games. So you think about it, 100%. Yeah, if you even take those 5 games, the Yankees would be 37-15.
So this
Um,
is,
yeah.
you have to play with what we have. At the end of the day, we know Garrett Cole's a loss and it sucks, and we're gonna keep, being sad about it. But the Yankees are showing the signs of life that I feel like we
Yeah.
felt coming into the
Yeah.
season that they can do. Um, I still want to see maybe a trade help us strengthen that rotation. But
No, I definitely think that the Yankees still have to make moves. I think with the rotation is yeah, I would like to see another big arm. But I think the Yankees are gonna see what they get back from Luis Hill. Obviously, Luis Hill should be coming back. Right now, it was reported yesterday that Giancarlo Stanton is going to be taking some practice swings. He's going to be taking some live batting practice for 2 weeks, and then potentially going to rehab assignment. So we should be getting maybe Stanton back. I would probably say right now we're in the end of May. If he's gonna take 2 weeks, have a assignment. I see maybe he might be by the end of June. So that's gonna be a big that's big news. But yeah, I would like to see the Yankees get another arm in the rotation if they could. I know right now they've been playing Yarborough, and he's been good for us. It's funny because I'm watching the Knicks game right now, and that's the Obi Toppin play right now where Landry Shaman draws the foul. That was just such a game changing play. That look down 13 with 139 to go. But brother, let's look into the week ahead because it's going to be an interesting week. It's the LA. The Yankees remain in the West Coast. Obviously, they've been in the West Coast. Well, they were in Denver, where they won 2 out of 3. We don't need to really get much into that series. They should have swept them, but that Friday was just a bad day for New York. Knicks lost, and then Yankees lose 3-2 to Colorado, but they bounced back, beat them, smoked them 13-1, and then it was a tough one. It was a little tough in the ninth inning, but they pulled up with a 5-4 victory. And Aaron Judge, that was Aaron Judge's first time ever playing in Coors Field, brother, in Colorado.
really,
Yeah, yeah. So obviously, the American League doesn't play much the National League, and 2 years ago that's when they started that they're gonna play each other every other year. Um, so I guess 2 years ago when the Yankees went to Colorado, Judge was hurt, so he didn't get to play. And fun fact, I probably will be in Coors Field at the end of June. We'll be going to Denver, so yeah, that's weird. But so I will be filming 1 week in Denver. um, but let's get into the week. Brother, post a schedule. So right now, as of this recording, guys, we will know who won the first game. We don't know the Yankees Angels, but the Yankees have a 3-game set with the Angels Memorial Day, the 26th, 27th, 28th. All 9:38 starts. I hate West Coast times, especially now with the ozone, brother. I hate it. And then a big series. We got the big series, brother. The World Series rematch Friday, May 30th against the Dodgers. That's a 10-10 start. That's on Apple TV Plus, guys. So unfortunately, if you don't have Apple TV Plus, you're not going to be able to watch the game. So that's going to suck. Saturday, 7:15 start. That's on Fox. And then Sunday, June 1st, is a Sunday Night Baseball Game 7. That's on ESPN2. And I'm assuming maybe it's because the NBA Finals is on ESPN, but it's weird that it's on ESPN2. So the Yankees have an interesting week. The Angels right now, they're 2 games under 500, so they're not completely bad, but they're not good. Brother, what's your prediction on the Yankees week ahead?
With the Angels, I got them sweeping them.
Mm, mm, mm.
The Angels aren't playing good baseball. Like, yeah, they're like 25-27 at the time of this recording, their record. Um, but I feel like we can take them. They just don't generate enough runs to compete, I think. And when it comes to the Dodgers, man, their record's just about ours. It's 32-21, I believe, at this time of recording, and I can see us. I can see us losing that series, but like a 2-1 series.
2-1. Yeah, as you touched on, the Angels is not a. They're not really like a great offensive hitting team. So I got 2 out of 3, and I got 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers. The Dodgers haven't been playing that well. We're gonna get into the Dodgers a little bit in the next segment. But I only because I like the projected matchups that we got. We're gonna have Freed for the first game. I know Warren and Yarborough is matched up for the second and third game. But right now, I think the Dodgers right now they're on a little slide right now. And the Yankees right now, I think the Yankees haven't been getting killed. You know what I mean? Like the Yankees even when they lose, it's been close games. The pitching's keeping them in. I think the Yankees are definitely want to send a message. We know that the Dodgers has been talking a lot of the Dodgers has been really trolling the Yankees this whole offseason. And I think that the Yankees are going to come with a little chip on their shoulder and be like, hey, this is not the same team. So I got us winning 2 out of 3, both LA series. So let's go Yankees. Um, now let's talk about the other team in New York because they had a yin and yang kind of a week. So let's get into it. This is the Amazin Rundown.
The Amazin Rundown. It's about the Mets, baby. Love the Mets. All right, baby. Let's go. Get a home run, baby. Love the Mets. Let's go, Mets.
All right, y'all. The Amazin Rundown is where we cover them boys from Queens. And, brother, they had a yin and yang week.
Yeah,
It
they
did
did.
start off hot. They're coming from losing 2 out of 3 to the Yankees. They have, this whole thing of Juan Soto. And is he happy? He's not doing the shuffle enough. And we're going to get into that. Then you go into Boston. And Boston they're over 500 team, but Boston's not an elite baseball team. The Mets lose 3-1. They drop the first 2 games. They lose 3-1. They lose 2-0, but then they bounce back and win the third game to have some sort of self-respect for themselves and don't get swept in Boston.
Yeah,
I'm pulling
Peter.
for them. I'm pulling for them. I'm pulling for them. I want the Red Sox to lose, but they had a rough 3-game set in Boston.
Yeah, they did. And then they bounced back against the Dodgers. So Peter Alonso hit 2-run homer against them. They got things correct after losing those games against Boston.
And
And against, the Dodgers of all things, like the team that you want to see, because this was a matchup this year that you wanted to see. Like, all right, what with your adjustments coming into the season, this team that you were probably, you guys highlight, you won one more game than the Yankees. You want to see what did you guys do when you go against this team, and maybe it could be that yes, the Dodgers aren't a skid right now, but that doesn't matter. That's regardless. You want to show that you can beat that team.
Um, and that shout outs. That's just the resiliency of this Mets team. Where you have that series in Boston where they look kind of lifeless. You got this Juan Soto thing going on, and then you drop the you was it did they drop the first game? Yeah, they dropped the first game against the Dodgers. So now it's looking like, oh boy, this is gonna be a long series because in that game the Dodgers, they were leading, and the Mets come with the 3-run rally in the ninth inning to tie it. They ultimately lose the game in the 13th inning, and that could easily take you out. That could easily take you out. You had the bum series in Boston, and you come back and you're so high on tying the game, and then you drop it. But they bounce back. David Peterson comes back, 7 and 2/3, 5 hits, 7 strikeouts. Kodai Singer, it's 5 innings, 5 1/3, 1 earned run, 5 Ks. So they bounce back. And you look at Juan Soto. Now, Juan Soto is still batting .236. Now, Juan Soto really didn't. I'm looking at it right now. Juan Soto went 2 for 5 in the second game. The Sunday game, he went 1 for 4. He went, yeah. Did he go? No, he went 0 for 4. 0 for 4. The first game of the series, he went 0 for 5 with a walk. Now, Juan Soto, you hear this news, obviously when the Yankees, he didn't have a great series against the Yankees in the Subway Series. You're hearing this, fans are looking at he's not doing the shuffle enough. That got debunked because shout out to the fan, WFAN and Evan and Tiki show. They realized they're like, hey, when he's struggling, he doesn't do the shuffle enough, and he did it with the Yankees. They counted it like there was like a brief stint, brother, when he struggled with the Yankees, and out of 100 at bats, he did the shuffle 4 times in 100 at bats. So like, what it is, what it is. But you hear this news that he's not happy, and then you get news like this from Bob Nightingale, where he goes, the Yankees are convinced that Juan Soto is ready to re-sign with them on December 11th. He asked for a bit more time, was going to discuss it with his family during lunch. And the next thing they knew, he was signing with the Mets after being persuaded by family members. Now, this has been the rumor, brother. Now, obviously during that weekend, last weekend, during the Subway Series that kind of bled into the series against Boston, is that Juan Soto's family is the primary reason as to why Juan Soto signed with the New York Mets. Now, considering the contract he got and all the perks, I'm not so quick to debunk that theory. Because you did hear, like, at that time, Juan Soto wanted the suite. Juan Soto wanted the private security for the family. I guess he wanted like planes or whatever, chartered planes for them and that sort of thing. Where the Yankees was like, no, we're not giving you that. We never give that to Jeter. We don't give it to Judge. We're not giving it to you. I don't know. Like, family's big. Obviously, family's important to me. And then, and especially with Juan Soto being from the Dominican Republic, being from there, the culture that's very, we all know how family's paramount there. But I don't know, man. If you really made your decision solely on your family, I just feel like, bruh, grow up a little bit. That's just my thing.
And the thing is that Juan Soto's what, 26, 27?
Well, allegedly.
Allegedly, right? Because he could be older. But
Yeah,
Juan,
I'm
so-
gonna be honest. Yeah.
Juan Soto, you're not a kid. So you signed this
Right.
contract and you needed to decide what was best for your family. Great. I understand that as every man should, as they consider that. But to sign with a team that you're not fully convinced with, like if that is the case, because at the end of the day, this is just rumors at this point. If that is the reason why you ended up going to the Mets, well then you're never gonna be happy. We see this all the time with just regular kids who go to college and end up going in to pursue something that they don't like. You're gonna be a doctor because your parents told you to be one, and then you end up hating it. You don't do those decisions,
Uh,
especially as a grown adult. Now, you like in Juan Soto's case, you're
well,
already playing baseball,
honestly, bro, it's kind of like with adults too. When you take a job solely on money, it's
right?
because that job offered you a couple $1,000s more, and you took it because of that. And you're not happy. You're not
So
happy at that job.
So
Yeah.
with Juan Soto, I'm gonna put the rumor to the side because at the end of the day, this is just a rumor. Until something comes out from him or someone in his family actually says something, I'm just gonna take it as just what it is, a rumor. When it comes to Juan Soto, I think it more is like, all right, this big contract's on, like I'm playing for it, and yeah, most of it is guaranteed because it's baseball, guaranteed money. But when you are not having a good time out there, it affects everything. And that's why I feel like he's unhappy because it's like there's a lot of expectations. We all we've talked about since this contract came up is that now you have this guy, you spent all this money, there are big expectations of what you need to bring to the table. And don't get me wrong, do I think Juan Soto deserves most of this money? Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, you've shown you're one of the best players in baseball, but you're starting off the year really slow. You're not doing what we expect Juan Soto to do, and that's where I feel like the unhappiness is coming. And you're still learning your new team. You're still getting everything together. And like we've been talking about it every week. Juan Soto will get it together. Juan Soto will get it together. Juan Soto will get it together. And slowly he is. But it's just more so. I think that's more so where the unhappiness is coming from. Big expectations. You're not delivering. Is the family a part of this? Maybe. But then again, it's a rumor.
Yeah. You look at Fox Sports had the graphic. Dave is gonna post it up right now. First 50 games comparison between Soto and Soto's year with the Yankees and the Mets, and you can see it. The average, he was batting 309 to his 236 right now with the Mets, 11 home runs to 8. So that's not too far off. But everything else, RBIs, 16 more with the Yankees. OPS 947 to 786. So you look at it, and it's a big difference, and you're not paying 765 million or whatever it is this astronomical amount of money for that kind of productivity. Um, Juan Soto, we want to keep saying that he's going to get it together. He's going to get it together. He's going to get it together. But when does it get to the point where you go, wait a minute, this is going to be a bad year? They're more than 50 games in. The Mets right now are 51 games in. They're 30-21. Um, right now they're no longer in first place. They're 2 games behind the Phillies as of this recording, so they're not out of it. But they're gonna need him. They're gonna need him. Especially because although Pete has homered, he homered in the last game against the Dodgers. He kind of cooled off a little bit. Lindor kind of cooled off a little bit, so they're gonna need him to pick it up. So let's see how
Yeah.
that goes.
Pete had a what? Pete had a 16 game drought without a home run. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he's kind of cooled off. But I'll say this, brother. This is the perfect week for the Mets to bounce back. As we touched on, you get fat when you can get fat. In this schedule for the Mets have an opportunity to get obese because they start the week. They're at home, so they have a homestand. 3 game set with the Chicago White Sox, the worst team in the American League, followed by a weekend series against the Colorado Rockies, the worst team in baseball. This right now, because I think so highly of this Mets team, brother, and I'm not a hater like you. This is a 6-0 week for the Mets. 5-1 at worst. I do not want to see a 4-2 record. 4-2 to me will be a letdown. This is the week you go 6-0, you sweep the Sox, you sweep the Rockies. At worst, you have one of those bad little clunker games where you drop one. 6-0 week for the New York Mets.
same record. And the reason why I'm not even going to cover all the stuff that you just went over with them. They're paying bad teams, so just win. The
Yeah.
reason why you also want to win these games is because right around the corner you're playing the Dodgers again. Right after those two
Yes. They
series,
have a.
you're
They
playing
have a.
the
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they're in LA and they're only going to be on a West Coast trip. So you
Yeah.
definitely want to just win those games because you want to instill that confidence as you go in and get. I wouldn't say they're
And the
rivals. I wouldn't say that the Dodgers are rivals, but they are definitely a team that you want to compete with against in the playoffs.
well,
So
look, they're the standard. They're the champs. So yeah, I don't think you're stretching it, brother, when you say that. That's a team where this is why you brought Juan Soto. This team is it's like the Knicks. In the offseason, the Knicks were built to go against the Celtics. This Mets team was built to go against the Dodgers. Obviously, that's taking it away from their division counterparts with the Phillies and the Braves and that sort of thing. But this team was designed. This team, you brought in another bat in Juan Soto to stretch this lineup so then you can compete with the power of the Dodgers. So you nailed it. And I forgot about that when I was talking about how the Mets should have their week. Right. They have a tough one the following week. So this is the week. Pat your stats, get back in first place, ride a little momentum. So then you're going to LA with a 6-7 game winning streak, feeling good about yourself because you know the Dodgers are going to want to get their get back. So I got every confidence in the Mets in doing so. So, brother, you got a 6-0 week for the Mets as well, or
6-0,
I don't know.
6
I
and
don't know
0.
if I talked over you while
No,
you.
no,
All
6
right,
6-0, 6-0, bro.
all right. So the Mets, this is your week. This is your week. Pumble, do what you got to do, guys. I got faith in there. Even though Dave doesn't, I got faith. I got faith in them. I got faith in them. And you know what's funny, brother? I thought you were gonna go a little bit more heavy on the Juan Soto thing. When I was writing the script, I'm like, oh man, I just gave Dave a big steak. Cause
I
Dave's
know.
dying to get at Juan Soto. But you actually good. I'm proud of you, brother. I'm proud of you. You kept composed,
I'm
and
growing.
I'm
I
proud of
told you
you.
I wanna like the Mets this year,
Yeah,
so I'm growing.
yeah. But you know what we both like? That's quick hits. So let's get into it. All right, y'all. Quick hits. This is where we touch everything around the globe. The hits are so quick, you don't see it coming. Brother, the viewership for game one of this season Western Conference Finals was down 24% from last season. Excluding the COVID delayed playoffs of 2020 and 2021, it was the least watched conference final opener since the Grizzlies Spurs on ABC in 2013. Brother, why do you think this number is so low considering the young superstars like SGA and Ant-Man that are headlining this matchup?
As much as we talk about how much we like SGA and Ant-Man, or I'll say no, I would say I don't like SGA as much, but I like Ant-Man. Um,
Why don't you
and
like
they
SGA? Is it the foul baiting? Is it like the foul? Was it
it's the
foul?
foul baiting, and I'm sure if you're a
Yeah,
Thunder fan, you feel the same way about Jalen Brunson, so that's fine. But
right.
for me, it's more so of just like as much as we know that they're the future, they're not LeBron. They're not Luca. They're not these names that are just household names at this point. And I think that's something that can really affect the NBA should the Pacers end up in the finals. Obviously, we don't want that here, but I feel like either
Yeah,
though if that's going to be a really low viewership if that was to happen for the NBA. Um people are not excited for these teams and then again they've been blowouts. Like
yeah,
they
yeah.
haven't been
All
close
of them,
games
pretty
either.
much all of them. Yeah, yeah.
So I
I
think
agree with you. Oh, go ahead, brother. Go ahead. Finish your
no,
point.
no, I think that's the reason why we're seeing such low viewership.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that is you're seeing it now, like Ant-Man and SGA's having their commercials. But I think what doesn't help them is that the narrative of one, I'm gonna be honest, Ant-Man doesn't make himself really likable outside of basketball. He curses a lot. You know what I mean? So he's not really like a poster boy that the NBA can throw out there to go speak on our behalf, be the face of the league. It's because of his immature behavior. And that's something he's gotta clean up. SGA, on the other hand, you see him on commercials and that sort of thing. You know what it is, brother? I just don't think those cities are sexy. Oklahoma City, Minnesota, those aren't sexy markets. Like it's as simple as that. Yeah, they have stars, but it's just it- like they like you said, they're just not
Can
on
can I ask
LeBron,
you
Curry,
something?
where they can over. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I ask you something? If they were in Seattle again, do you think it'd be different?
It'd be very different. It'd be
Right.
very different. It'd be very different because Seattle, it's just the crowd. Like it's everything. Like Seattle's a basketball town. People want to, they're known to be the 12th man and all that. But Seattle's just a basketball city. That's why the Seattle Stormers, the WNBA team, has been able to do so well in Seattle. Um, yeah, I think it's that, but I also think, brother, like you said, the games haven't been close. And yeah, that's something that the NBA. I know they're not having that issue with the Eastern Conference. Let's put it at that.
Yeah. All right, brother, let's move on. So let's switch over to wrestling. So WWE confirms to Fightful that WrestleMania will not be in New Orleans in 2026. However, it was noted that that this is a part of a larger deal that adds Money in the Bank in 2026, and WrestleMania will emanate from New Orleans in a future year. WrestleMania now will go back to Las Vegas in 2026. Now, this is mainly profit driven, as TKO believes that they can repeat this year's strong numbers. Is this a good idea for WWE, bro?
I don't like it. I don't like it. We've never seen the Super Bowl in the same location back to back years. This and the funny part is that TKO, they got the grapefruits to go out and say, yeah, this is a mainly a profit move. And and that's where I think, although WWE is hot, that's gonna be a potential downfall. Not in the downfall as the business is gonna go under, but it's gonna be the downfall where the numbers are gonna drop with viewers, the numbers are gonna drop with attendance because you're being greedy. And now you went from, now New Orleans, you were gonna have it in New Orleans. Now you kind of shun people who live on the East Coast. So now it's like, okay, I already spent a whole lot of money flying across the country to Las Vegas, doing in the hotels. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be honest. Let's just be honest, brother. Going to WrestleMania in New Orleans is a lot easier for us than it would be to go to Vegas. It's a lot cheaper. You know what I mean? So it's like you're
Could have
doing
drove it.
that, and it's just like, yeah, you could have driven. We could have driven, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's on the East Coast. So it's like, now you go and do this, and your way to make New Orleans feel better is like, oh, we'll give you Money in the Bank in a future WrestleMania. Now I know Money in the Bank has been made official, but it's like, what makes you think you're gonna get Mania? You might now, all right, like, oh, we're gonna give it to y'all, but eventually, maybe next year we'll do Saudi Arabia, and then and it's like, this is gonna eventually be the downfall of when they start losing viewers again because of the greed, and I don't like it.
And once we saw that, because it didn't come out right after the other. Like, we knew that New Orleans wasn't going to happen, but we didn't
Mhm.
officially have it
Mhm.
that Vegas was happening. So the rumor was that,
Mhm.
okay, they're going to go to London, because who of all
Mhm.
people, your champ, who currently current champion, said, yo, we're going to bring WrestleMania to London. And honestly, like, as much money as AEW made in Wembley, I can only imagine how much money they
Imagine
make, because
WrestleMania.
when it comes to those European like tours, they make so
Yeah.
much money because they come
Yeah.
from all over. Europe is a condensed continent, and people can just come from other
Right.
countries just for that event. So I get it. This is TKO, so most of their business when it comes to the UFC stuff is Vegas. That's where they, most of their stuff happens. But
Yeah.
I think it's a bad decision making, and it's just too expensive. And it's not like it's not just going to WrestleMania. It's not just the hotels. But then if you're going for the VIP packages. You're going to go want to get signings. You want to see your wrestlers. There are people who literally said, I spent over 20K, 30K in this experience, and I'm just like, good luck for the normal Joe Schmo to be able to do that.
And I know in the beginning we talked about it on Ozone, is that you know the numbers were a little bit slow for Vegas. It picked up steam in the beginning because they were also dropping down the prices. You know what I mean? Because as you touched on, brother, those like access shows and those meet and greets and all that, that is a lot of money. A lot of money, and I can only imagine it's going to be more next year. But I'll tell you this, WWE, you better book some good stuff because you got to wait this past WrestleMania. with some
Barely.
garbage. Let's just call it
Barely.
a spade. Barely got by. So you're gonna go back to Vegas. You're gonna go charge fans like us a whole lot of money. You better get the rocking. You better, you know what I mean? Like, nah, it's a little, but you got to get some fire there.
Yeah.
So
That's all right, brother.
let's stay with wrestling, brother. As over the weekend, WWE NXT star Trick Williams defeats TNA star. So TNA is another wrestling promotion. TNA star Joe Henry to become the new TNA World Champion. With this being done, we now have the first time a WWE contracted wrestler as the world champion for another promotion. Brother, do we like this move?
No,
Oh, yeah.
we don't, because this is the thing with WWE. WWE has done many partnership over the years where another promotion will come over and they'll send over their champ, but that champ never wins. That champ never does anything over there, and this is very just like when it comes to this partnership, this is very one-sided. This benefits WWE all the way. Don't get me wrong, TNA gets something like you get the 14th best wrestler from the women's roster. Like you get
On
crumbs.
NXT.
Yes. And then I'm saying when they send somebody to TNA, they get like the one
Right,
of the worst
right, right.
wrestlers over there. So
Yeah,
it's just like
yeah, yeah.
it's not beneficial as far as your product goes. TNA is just, how do I say this? TNA is like a streetwalker, and they'll just take anything at this
Yeah,
point. And
yeah, yeah.
yeah, it doesn't. This does not help their business as much as like, all right, now you have eyes because of Trick Williams. Because Trick Williams, we believe, is going to be one of those wrestlers who, once he's brought up, he's gonna be one of those guys that we like. I think I like him way, way, way more than Carmelo Hayes.
Me too.
But I don't know, TNA. This is not a good look for TNA. I'll say that. What do you think, bro?
I hate it. I hate it. And I hate it because I would like to think that I'm one of the few wrestling fans that stuck with TNA through the dark days of when Hogan and Bischoff ruined it. You look at the lineage of the TNA Championship: AJ Styles, Kurt Angle, Samoa Joe, Bobby Roode, Mick Foley, Jeff Hardy, the very first TNA NWA World Champion, Ken Shamrock. And you have no self-respect for your company that you would go and let your top guy at that, which is Joe Hendry, their top guy. Okay, he had his WrestleMania moment. That was cool. But then he made to look like a punk getting RKO'd by Randy Orton to end it. We can look past that and go, you know what? He got a WrestleMania moment. But then now you get an NXT guy. No matter whether we like him or not, brother, it's still an NXT guy. NXT is for those that may not know, is the developmental for the WWE. They develop them in NXT and then bring them up to WWE when they feel like they're ready. You have your developmental guy go and win your title and beat your number one. How does that make you look as a company? This is why you don't see a lot of into promotion because of that. Because if Dave, if you and I are separately running a company, bro, I don't want you beating my world champ. That's gonna make us look weak. And vice versa for you. So it's hard to find a middle ground in wrestling because obviously we know it's scripted. It's not like a real fight. It's scripted. So it's like so that's why a lot of it's not done. We've been on record. We've said this on the group chat, brother. I thought AEW's partnership with Impact with TNA was much better. Because I actually thought AEW gave them. AEW let Kenny Omega, which is one of their top stars, go on their show, be on their show, do angles. They lent them Christian Cage. They lent them big names. What big names have WWE lent TNA? Cora Jade? Okay, their world champion wrestled there not too long ago. But why? Yeah, because you know why? Because Moose had to go wrestle in NXT. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you said, it's been very one-sided and you just like have no self-respect for yourself as a company to
Right.
go and let your world champion go on their show, because that wasn't even a TNA show. That was a WWE show. You let your world champion, which has more eyeballs, if anything, you want your champion to win there because it's more eyeballs. You want your world champion to go, damn, who's that guy in TNA? Yo, he just beat Trick Williams. No, you just got your butt kicked basically in front of a bigger audience that anyone watching your show, and you let your world champion lose.
And this is just the writing on the wall. We've already seen it with Jordan Grace. Like, great, now she's on NXT. We can see that she's going to be on the WWE roster like pretty soon. And we're
Yeah,
going to see the same thing with Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry's going to WWE. But
100%.
as far as TNA, it's just very one sided. And this is the stuff that puts TNA in the position that they've been in for so many years because of
I'm
decisions like
sorry,
this.
and exactly, and you hear like some of you hear a lot of AEW haters like saying TNA's the number 2 promotional show. I'll put it like this: even if let's say it was a valid argument, after that, don't even bring it up again.
All right, brother.
Yeah.
Let's just move on.
Yeah,
All right,
so
so
yeah, let's
let
pivot. Last week, go ahead. It's me reading this one, right? I'm reading this one, right? Yeah.
yeah, if you want to, yeah.
Yeah. Let's pivot. 'Cause this is not good news. This last week, Nike announced that they're expected to raise the retail prices starting in June, with increases ranging from $2 to $10. Now, the Jordan apparel and accessories, all kids footwear apparel, and all footwear under $100 will not be affected. So the Nike Air Force One will also not be affected. So okay, at least if you want your uptowns, you're good. But brother, how we feeling about this?
I mean, it's to be expected, and this is the ramifications of certain person in charge putting tariffs on a country
Yeah,
that
yeah,
exports a lot of goods to this place. So we don't want to get political on this show, but obviously
yeah.
I'll say this
But
for myself.
it's a big reason. It's a big reason why. Like
I'll
you're
say,
gonna see an
yeah,
uptick in that.
I'll say this for myself. I'm not a supporter of this person and the reasons that it's happening, but I get businesses have to make adjustments as well, and that's fine. I don't think it's a good move for Nike, just because people already feel like they're expensive to begin with. And
Exactly. Yeah.
and the thing with Nike and sneakers in general right now, but particular Nike, I've taken a break because what am I getting new from you guys? What in particular am I getting from you guys that I have not seen for the last 34 years that I've been alive? Because we keep
Hmm.
getting the same sneakers and you just drop them week after week after week and you expect people to keep up. Now, don't get me wrong, you don't have to buy every sneaker. You don't have to go and get every single one, and that's perfectly fine. But I just do you imagine the next person to be like, I gotta pay $10 more for this sneaker that I've already had like 10 years ago? I just don't see that, man.
Yeah. I agree. I think this couldn't come at any worse time when Nike, as you know, those that may not know, Nike has been drawing some of their lowest numbers, since the pandemic. And that's just because, there's so many other brands that people are wearing, such as New Balance, Asics. And I think a lot of it has to do with as you said, brother, there's nothing new. You know what I mean? Everything is being Nike's tactic to get back on top is okay, let's bring back the old stuff. It's kind of like with wrestling. They're kind of doing like, okay, we're not doing anything, let's bring back the old guys that had their glory days back in the day, and it's like come up with something innovative, come up with something new and fresh. And I think that could get them back. Come with like bring in these new young fresh designers, you know what I mean, that can come in. Like New Balance is doing that with Action Bronson, like, you know what I mean, like you look at all of the, like, Asics is doing that, you know what I mean, like they have these new uh you know uh like these guys that come in with these fresh minds. And obviously Action Bronson's not a designer, he's a rapper, but you got to bring in these guys, you got to bring in people with these new fresh ideas. And then obviously, as we know, like, with who's in charge right now, of the United States, and tariffs being a big thing, that's going to affect a lot of businesses that we shop from, because they do manufacture overseas. And how tariffs work, it gets pinned on the consumer.
Yeah,
They may tell you it doesn't, but it does.
as
Somebody
we can
has to
see.
fight that. somebody has to bite that bill, and unfortunately, it is
Nike
us.
won't
So
Nike won't bite that bill, so we know that.
Nike's definitely not. So it is what it is.
All right, brother. So, lastly, let's switch it up. Lastly, it was announced that the Buffalo Bills will be featured on HBO's Hard Knocks this summer during training camp. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell announced that in a league meeting on Wednesday. Goodell also announced that the NFC East will be the focus of the in-season Hard Knocks, which will feature all four teams in the division. The in-season series, oh my god, will debut in December. Do we like the team
It's a tongue
selected for this
twister.
year's Hard Knocks? Yeah. Do we like the team
Uh,
selected for this year's Hard Knock series?
Oh, you know what's funny with the Hard Knocks? I like the Hard Knocks. I hate when they pick bad teams. So I'm actually kind of happy to see the Bills. Because it's just different. You know what I mean? I like to see the good teams on Hard Knocks. The thing I am surprised about is the in-season Hard Knocks, which is kind of cool. I'm just surprised at the teams that's participating. Holla out my New York Giants. Because I'm gonna be honest, it was not a good look for us last year on Hard Knocks. And it's a reason why they didn't do the pre-draft Hard Knocks as they did last year, because we didn't look good. We got exposed. Joe Shane got exposed of how we handled the Saquon situation, and it was embarrassing. So I would have thought my Giants would be the last team that would want to participate in anything Hard Knocks, let alone an in season, because all we need is cameras following the possibility of what could be a massive train wreck with Russell Wilson. You know what I mean? But if you're the NFL and you're not a fan of those four teams, you love it because every team has a storyline, brother. It's the NFC East. So you have the defending champions. You have the rise of the Commanders with Jalen Daniels. You have a train wreck of what's always the Dallas Cowboys. And then you have the New York Giants, who the Giants can easily fire their GM, fire their coach, get rid of their quarterback acquisition of Russell Wilson within the first 4 games of the season, depending on how it goes. So if you're the NFL, you love it. But if you're a Giant fan like myself, you're just questioning why the Giants would agree to do Hard Knocks.
I am looking forward to seeing some Jameis Winston in this Hard Knocks. I'll say that. I'll say that.
What about Buffalo? I know, obviously Buffalo's a team in your division. What do you think about Buffalo? Well, Buffalo will do the traditional training camp Hard Knocks.
It's interesting. I think it's interesting. Obviously the focal point will
Do you
be.
think we get Haley? Do you think we get Haley Seinfeld?
Then I
Cameo
might
from Haley
watch.
Seinfeld.
Then I might watch. But no, I think the focal point is Josh Allen, and this is a year that we're just like, who are you guys throwing to? Like that's something I want to see for the Bills. So we'll see. Well, I'm honest. I'm not interested in Hard Knocks. I don't watch too much of it. I usually catch the highlights and stuff. Um, but if there's a possibility, I'll watch if somebody coming into the show.
Yeah. So let's see how that goes. But guys, we cannot end an episode without sharing you guys the highlight of the week. So let's get into it.
He's on fire!
All right, y'all. The highlight of the week is no other than I think this is the first. I think this is the first Yankee highlight of the week, brother. Because it's our boy, the Martian, Jasson Dominguez. It's my boy. I've been a big fan of Dominguez. Let the boy play, and he's finally showing his own as he hits his first walk-off home run and what would hope to be a great all-star, multiple all-star appearance, hopefully multiple championship career, as Jasson Dominguez propelled the Yankees to a 4-3 victory, which sealed the series, which the Yankees will go on to sweep the following day. Brother, he pimped it out too. You see it, bam, he pimped it out. He had this trot. He had, you know what I mean? Shout out to Jasson Dominguez. I know that right now he had a slow start, but he's picking it up. And that was a big moment. He, to be able to keep yourself poised in the 9th inning. Although, yes, it is a game in May, but those experiences in May help propel you in situations in October. And Jasson Dominguez put the Yankees on top. I believe it's our first walk-off home run since 2022, I believe it was. So, shout out to the Martian. He sent the fans home happy.
Yeah, I mean, he had a strong May, 4 home runs, 10 RBIs, and an OPS of .904. So Dominguez, you're coming along, and this is what we wanted to see. You're one of those young bats that we want to see in the lineup, and maybe we don't have to trade for a bat if you pick it up. So this is the signs of stuff that we want to see going forward. You won your honor of being the highlight of the week.
Yep. So, guys, we want to thank you guys so much for just tapping in and continuing to tap in with us. Our numbers it's increasing slowly but surely. It's increasing, and we just love the support that you guys are doing, and we just continue to ask you guys to do a little bit more. And by doing that, is to make sure you follow us on all social media platforms. We are available on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and X. That's where you get our daily news on everything, guys. You don't know what time the Knicks play. You don't know what channel the Knicks play. Tap in with your boys. We'll have that for you. We post weekly schedules for the Yankees and the Mets. We post the daily scores. We post highlights, guys. So be sure to follow us on that. And plus, we have we have not interviews. That's potentially something that we could do down the line. But we do have videos and shorts, guys, and that's just to keep us with us active. And Dave and I are very active on social media. So you have any questions, anything that you saw in this episode that you want to discuss with us, maybe something you talked about that maybe we might have missed, something that you disliked that what we said, let us know in the comments below. Hit us up, DM us on Instagram, DM us on Twitter and that sort of thing. Dave and I really tapped in with us. Shout outs to KFTV. They showed us some love. They gave us a follow on Instagram. This is their hats against all odds. I posted it on our page, and Dave will have the link on the below to buy. This is their hat going into this playoff run for the New York Knicks. So shout out to KFTV, man. They showed us some love. They reposted our video not too long ago, brother, and then they gave us a follow and they DM'd us and they appreciated us. I guess us showing them love, and maybe that's something that we could collaborate with them sooner rather than later. But go ahead, brother.
This is episode 25. 25 weeks of us doing this, bro, and we're only getting better. We're only getting stronger, but we do appreciate the support. And for you guys, once again, most of you who are subscribed to this channel already follow us on our socials. But what you can do for us is share it with someone who does watch sports. Share it with someone who does love this stuff. And we do appreciate the people who've already started to do that. We see the numbers going up because of that. So we do appreciate that. Just keep doing it. We love you. We want to get to 200 probably by the end of the year. I think we could do that even before that. So we appreciate everything you guys have done to support the channel. Just share it with someone you know. If you don't like sports or you know someone who does, just send it to them.
You know someone who does. You know somebody who does. And right now, I'm looking at it through my lenses. There are a lot of people that I know didn't watch basketball, but right now they feeling the Knicks. So you feeling the Knicks? Holla at your boys. Show some love for our page. But guys, thank you so much. This is a special Tuesday episode. We did this because we want to be able to cover the Knicks for you guys. We'll be back on our regular schedule next Monday, 5 p.m., where the Ozone delivers the fire.
This is more than a podcast. It's a sports throne. Let's kick it off right. Welcome to the Ozone.